Hi, I'm Revant, co-founder and CEO at Mosaic Wellness, where we run two digital health platforms, Man Matters, which is a digital health clinic for men, and Bodywise, a digital health clinic for women. So one of the biggest things in any journey when you're direct to consumer is to really understand the consumer's need and solve for it, right? And we've taken a very strong consumer backwards view and therefore actually had two different platforms. We could have made one platform for digital health and wellness and provided all of the solutions that we provide on it. But what we realized is that each consumer segment reacts very differently to health and wellness, especially elective health where we play. Men, for example, are not very open about their health and wellness needs. They're a little shy. Some of the topics are very taboo. It's not easy to talk about hair loss or sometimes even about sexual health, right? So what we realized is that the nuances were very different for each consumer segment that we wanted to solve health and wellness for. And being digital really helped us do that, where we have one platform where on the men's health side, based on the understanding of the consumer need, we have a very discreet doctor consultation service, a community of men where they can discuss their health and wellness problems without the fear of being judged. And therefore, Man Matters as a digital health platform for men has done pretty well in the last 18 months. Similarly, the nuances for a consumer segment, which is more women-centric, are very, very different. And I think, therefore, looking at a digital direct-to-consumer way of trying to just understanding your consumer and that persona and creating a platform that really conforms to their needs is something that we have done well in the last 18 months since beginning. You know, if you look at behavior of each consumer segment, their navigation on a website, for example, whether they like to purchase on a mobile site or a desktop site or a mobile app, for example, each of these things are different. So purchase behavior, ability to interact with, let's say, medical experts. We've seen so many different, we've tried so many different ways and then eventually realized that men prefer to actually chat discreetly with a doctor versus maybe get on a call or even on a video. And women actually prefer to get on a video call, right? Maybe there's an element of trust, there's an element of shyness, but all of these things are very critical of as to how you build out features on your platform as well. And that's the real benefit, the real leverage of code, right? Where you can digitally build non-linear, you can actually get non-linear leverage from code in customizing the entire experience for each of these individual consumer segments on a digital platform. And I think we've therefore created two different consumer segment teams who then work with deep functional experts who are maybe product development folks, R&D folks, technology, product engineers, all of whom are given more guidance around how a particular consumer segment thinks and how we should be building for that consumer segment. So the way our org is structured is also very unique in that respect. And I think that's the core benefit of thinking from a consumer backwards view. Most basic tenets of being a consumer-centric organization is to just having more conversations with the consumers. You know, while there's a lot of data that comes in which we analyze and understand consumer behavior, nothing beats speaking to consumers very, very regularly. And we have the added benefit of having medical experts who speak to these consumers as well. So we do today around 3,000 telehealth consultations a day, which is a treasure trove of information, right? Because when the medical experts speak to the consumers, they really understand, empathize, understand the anxiety that goes behind some of these things, right? More than the functional nature of these problems, what is the emotional nature of these problems? And how can we as an organization actually help consumers along the way in this aspect as well? So, as I said, there are two very separate aspects. One is a functional expertise that we have built. There are functional pods with leaders. And then there is the consumer-centric category pod who only focuses on the consumer, gets these nuances from the conversations that the doctors are having with these consumers, as well as do a bunch of consumer calls themselves. In fact, as a process, for example, in the org, everyone who joins has to do customer service in the first, as part of the induction, right? And one day a month, they have to do customer service as well. So this is in the DNA of the org, where the more you speak to the consumers, the more you'll be in touch with them, the more you'll understand the nuances around the problems that they are facing, and then it's easier to solve for. Does become a little hard over a period of time, because as the org grows, everybody has 20 things to do, and sometimes some of these things are neglected. And hence, we have actually made it a process that this is almost compulsory, right? Because you can't really solve for the consumer unless you're talking to the consumer very, very regularly. We started in a direct-to-consumer way. Today, we have opened up a few other channels as well. But for the first 12 months, we were only direct-to-consumer on our own platform. And then we gradually realized that consumers had different needs and they preferred to do their interactions or purchases on different kind of platforms. And therefore, we have diversified into a little bit of an omni-channel strategy as well. And it will continue to diversify more as we grow. But one of the biggest advantages that we had is our ingoing hypothesis was digital direct-to-consumer first, because we realized that healthcare had not been solved in that manner. If you look at the current state of the healthcare industry, not only is it largely offline, but the nuances there are very different, where you can't, like, pharmaceutical products are not B2C products. Pharmaceutical products, the medical representatives go to the doctor and tell them how good a product is, and then the doctor actually recommends a product to the consumer, right? So it's a B2B2C model. So the healthcare industry was always B2B2C or B2B in that aspect, right? It was business to business or business to consumer. There was no business to consumer aspect in the healthcare industry itself, which is where we realized that we should play in. And that is the gap that we realized exists because the world is changing. Like we used to have a large offline retail and then e-commerce came in and changed behavior. We are now seeing that happen, what we call the consumerization of healthcare, where users are getting involved and getting more self-aware and involved in their own health and wellness, and therefore are choosing the path that they believe is most convenient for them versus the path that has been laid out by the industry today, where you had to go to an offline doctor, spend a lot of time waiting for an appointment. Then once you get the appointment, have a long wait period, get only 2 minutes with the doctor, and then the next appointment again comes up three weeks later, right? So there was a lot of friction involved in the entire healthcare space. Now, if you are looking at chronic and acute problems, right? If you have blood pressure or diabetes, it's life-threatening things, you will still go in and spend that time because in the end, it's your need more than anything else, right? But if you look at elective health, how we look at hair loss, how we look at sexual health, how we look at skin issues, these are elective in nature, right? I may or may not choose to spend a lot of time or money on that. And that is where convenience as a play is going to be significant in the future. And that's why we started with a digital first approach and started with doing telehealth consultations specifically for elective health issues, giving a very, very solid platform that focuses on these problems. And that sort of helped us get a good go-to market in the last 18 months and will continue to help us as we look at a more omnichannel strategy as well.